Hey, Daniel Seriff here. Today I'm bringing you 3 concepts to help you play confidently with other people and also learn to jam in a live setting. Hey, Daniel Seriff here, and today I am teaching 3 concepts to help you learn to confidently play with other musicians or play in a live musical setting. Alright, so on this channel, every week I'm putting out videos to help share my 15 years of experience as a guitarist and an instructor, and geared at intermediate guitar players to help you grow. Okay, so if you're new here, please go ahead and subscribe. Click that button below and make sure to ring that bell so that you get notifications when I put out it. So at the end of this video, you'll have a specific strategy to use in your practice routine so that you can move from a beginner guitarist to an intermediate guitarist. We're going to talk about these 3 concepts, and from my experience and also teaching hundreds of guitar students, I know these are going to work for you. So those 3 concepts are: Number 1, you gotta learn rhythm. You gotta learn how to play in time. Number 2 is gotta learn the notes on the guitar neck. And number 3 is learning the cage system is a great way to learn your scales and chords across the entire guitar neck. So let's jump into number 1. So it's interesting, guitar players by nature are kind of arrhythmic. We learn how to play a lot of different things, but historically, the drums and the bass have kind of carried rock and roll and popular music. And people have gotten by with kind of playing ambiguously, rhythmically, right? And so I think it's really important. You gotta work on your time, you gotta work on your groove, right? In this day and age, you gotta have a great pocket, as they say. Okay, so there are lots of ways to work on your rhythm. Some people don't really enjoy the metronome. It can be a great way to practice. A lot of times what I like to do is I encourage my students to play along to a drum machine. And so if you don't have a drum machine, you don't want to go out and buy one. iPads, iPhones, all kinds of smartphones, whatever nowadays, they have some great drum machines and or metronomes on them. And a lot of them you can get for free. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to comment. I can direct you to a few different ones. Alright, so it's also important to realize that rhythm isn't just for chords. I remember I had this one guitar student who came into lessons a few years ago, and he's a young guy, really great guitar player. He knew all kinds of chords, he knew scales, he was creative, he wrote his own music and everything. But one thing that he was missing a fundamental sense of pulse or rhythm, right? So what we did was we worked on simple things, quarter notes, eighth notes, triplets, sixteenths. We worked on time, right? I got him to work on that for a few months, and it was amazing, the difference, right? If he was actively thinking about his rhythm, he was way better. All right, so that's what I want you to do. Think about your rhythm, get a metronome app, get a drum machine. It will change your world, and all of a sudden, when you go to play with other people, is the ultimate goal, jamming with other people, all of a sudden you'll be feeling solid, you'll be able to match their rhythm, and you'll have a great time rather than just kind of coming home frustrated, not able to keep up with them. It's really interesting that as a guitar player, a lot of us don't know the notes on the guitar neck, and it's interesting because we're kind of the only instrument that doesn't learn the notes on the guitar neck right away. We learn a lot of times from shapes, scale shapes, chord shapes, and also numbers, both tab numbers and scale numbers. And there's nothing wrong with any of that stuff, but if you want to grow deeper as a player, you need to learn the notes on the guitar neck. And what I recommend is always start with just the natural notes. I've seen a lot of books, I buy books all the time, you know, trying to deepen my craft as a teacher, and I see them, and a lot of them start out with the whole scale and the whole fretboard. And I understand why guitar players don't want to learn the notes, because that is so much information and it's really hard to get to a place to make sense of all that. So what I recommend, just learn the notes on the fretboard, just learn the natural notes at first, and what I recommend is just doing one string at a time. That's right, just learn the notes on one string at a time and do it a little bit every day. If you do it a little bit every day, all of a sudden, you know, in a few weeks, in a couple months, you'll be like, oh, I know these notes now. You know, I know where they are. All right, great. First of all, you want to say, what is the CHORDS system? Well, the CHORDS system is a system of learning chords across the entire guitar neck, as well as scales, that are based on just our basic C, A, G, E, and D. So those basic open chords that we learn early on in our development, it's amazing. Those chords turn into these super usable chords that we can play all over the fretboard, and also we can alter them into majors, minors, all that stuff, right? So the CHORDS system is beautiful. So you might say, well, I'm perfectly fine with just knowing my open chords. Why do I need to know bar chords and get up the neck and stuff? Well, from my experience and my students' experience too, a lot of times, you know, you'll go to a jam session, you'll go to jam at somebody's house, or maybe it's a live performance even. And if you have numerous people playing the same old open chords, it just kind of sounds like people aren't together, and it doesn't sound very interesting. When you learn these chord shapes that are across the fretboard and in different positions, all of a sudden you can decorate the chords and make them sound great. The other thing about the CHORDS system is it will help you learn your scales. Okay, so the CHORDS system also corresponds with scales across the guitar neck, right? So, you know, down the road, if you wanted to learn to solo better, you could use the CHORDS system. Or if you wanted to decorate your chords, you can use the CHORDS system to do that. All right, so let's review these three. Okay, number one, you gotta work on your time, your rhythm every day, right? So metronome, drum machine, or playing along to tracks. It'll help you so much when you go to jam with people. Number two, you want to work on the notes on the guitar neck, right? The natural notes are the best way to start, and I would just do one string at a time. That will help you immensely. Then, number three, you want to work on the CHORDS system. And that'll help you get your chords across the entire guitar neck and also help you learn your scales and connect your chords and scales together. Super helpful, really good. All right, so, you know, if you're digging these tips, please go ahead and leave a comment for me. And if you haven't yet, go ahead, subscribe, and ding that bell. And I know that if you do these tips a little bit every day, they will help you so much moving from beginner to an intermediate guitarist. And also, you know, if you're looking for some more help, go to danielseriff.com and check that out. And otherwise, I will see you in the next video. Thanks and take care.